And this hangout's live on the Druid Smoke Show. And tonight, man, we're just going to sit back and we're going to reminisce a little bit about the old days and talk about how cannabis works in the joint. And I know a lot of you are wondering, well, how does that work? And so I've had folks ask me that question. And, you know, I think it's kind of funny because a lot of the time, you know, they have all these delusions in their head how it's going to work. And so it's not always the best. But let's just put it this way. It works. So, no, not this one. Anyways. A lot of folks that have never been to prison wonder how the experience of cannabis works in a joint where you're in a locked up situation. And what I tell folks is don't be fooled or deceived to think that cannabis doesn't exist in prisons, because I personally have seen it exist in maximum security prisons. So, you know, cannabis is everywhere. Cannabis is worldwide, and it's used pretty much in every environment, including the most hostile of environments. So just something to think about. You know, it's more than just whatever everybody else wants to say about it, but, you know, this is how it gets used. You know, typically, of course, you know, most folks aren't just going to walk into a prison system like a maximum security prison system with their drugs in hand, as they would say, or with their cannabis in hand. So a lot of times, you know, cannabis would be transported via, you know, the rectum from visiting rooms into maximum security prisons, where it later is secreted through the rectum back out, and then of course opened up, and then, you know, equally distributed amongst the fellows that want to get stoned. So, you know, but the whole thing about it is what I found really ironic about my cannabis experience in the joint. The first time I ever considered smoking cannabis in prison, I was about 19 years old, and I was in prison for a very large burglary that I had committed to support a cocaine habit. So I was in prison for a good reason, I guess. Anyways, while I was in prison, I had the opportunity to partake of some cannabis. And, you know, being in prison, because you're in prison, you don't really have much to lose. So what do? You know, you do what comes natural. What comes natural is to smoke the cannabis. And so, of course, we all circled around, and there was like 4 of us guys, and 4 of us had pitched in for this. It took us an entire week of, you know, of money and time and all of that, you know, just to get that little bit of cannabis inside the joint. Anyways, so there's 4 of us guys all circled around you know, table inside of a cell, and, you know, and we're all kind of hiding away from the cops. You know, we don't want the man to know that we're smoking the cannabis, because if they know, then they're going to come and, of course, take our cannabis, or attempt to take our cannabis, which frequently didn't happen. But, and of course, my first experience was, you know, I was a little nervous. I mean, I was in a maximum custody prison, and, you know, I was getting ready to, of course, be smoking a substance at the time. One was very highly illegal to them, just as illegal as heroin or cocaine or any of those other things. I mean, you could face the same charges and the same penalties for the little tiny amount of marijuana that we had, as they would say, that could very well easily have caught another beef, another charge. So all of us guys are sitting around, one of them's like smelling it and he's like, man, it smells like ass. The other one like checks it out, man, and he's like smelling it. And he goes, no, man, I can smell it. It smells like weed. Oh, the great outdoors, And another one's like, fuck it, man, let's just light it up. So we're sitting there and we're nervously hiding away in a corner. One of them is watching for the cops while we're smoking away on this little tiny fucking toothpick of a joint. And what I couldn't figure out was we all pitched in to get this little tiny fucking toothpick to share between 4 full-grown men. And let's just put it this way. We each got 1.5 worth of hits off of this fucking little toothpick, and then it was gone. It was just all gone away. And so, at the time, I was thinking to myself, this is probably going to be one of those situations where I'm not going to be experiencing anything. And I went back to my cell and I was telling my cellie, man, I said, I was hoping I don't catch any kind of fucking weird disease. Cause, of course it came out, it was secreted out of somebody's asshole and we were all smoking it. And so, and it was kind of, a lot of people are going like, wow, that's a very disgusting habit. How, hey, if you're in fucking prison and you haven't smoked a joint in, say, 6 years, and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you want to smoke a joint? You're going to fucking smoke it. I don't care what you say. It's going to, I don't care what you think. It's still, it comes out of somebody's asshole or not. You're still going to smoke it. And that's what we did. We all worked our asses off all fucking week so that we could throw all of our money into pot, all 4 of us guys, so that we could get one little tiny joint from this convict across the yard. And we were all hiding away from the cops, sitting in our cell, toking away on that motherfucker. And we could care less whether somebody thought it was disgusting that it came out of somebody's ass or not, man. And when I went back to my cell after toking down on that with those 4 guys, and I laid down on my bunk, and, they were getting ready to close us into our prison cells for the evening, I was fucking stoned off of my ass. It almost felt like I was that 6-year-old again, hanging around with some friends of mine that got some pot from one of their friends that got it from one of their friends. It was like a brand new experience. And so from that point on of my cannabis use, when I was using cannabis in prison, I used cannabis very sparingly in prison. I'm grateful that I knew how to tattoo and that I was an artist and that I know how to draw. And, I was able to get away with a lot of hustle in there so that I could have more access to cannabis than probably the other common guy. But I never once after that gave any thought to the fact that the cannabis that I would be smoking in prison came out of somebody's ass. So that is to answer that question right off the bat, man. I've had people say, oh yeah, Q&A about it, and I tell them, I don't have a problem with it, but, most folks, they can't understand it until they're in the situation. And then it's when they're in the situation that they realize, wow, maybe I would do that. You know what I mean? Maybe I would smoke cannabis, that came secreted out of somebody's butt if I had no other choice. And, a lot of folks go, well, that defines addiction. And of course I say to them, no, that doesn't define addiction. Just try living in a hostile environment for a very long period of time, where everybody hates everybody and, there is no room for love to hide, and do that for a very long period of time and then expect to not have to deal with the harshness that comes with that reality. I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, you put yourself there, that's what you got to go through. So But I remember that, man. I remember my very first time ever smoking cannabis in prison, and that was, a fucking crazy scene, man. We were all paranoid, and it was during a time when, and that would have been another charge. I mean, if you would have got caught with a little bit of cannabis in prison, even now that's another charge. That's introduction to contraband nowadays. But back in those days, back in the early 80s when I was in prison, that's how it was. People, fucking damn the risk, man. You know what I mean? And a lot of people put their livelihoods and everything at stake in believing in this plant. And so, and even in prison, you know what I'm saying? Even in prison. And one thing I know about in prison is that the drug trade, it's hot and cold. It's hot and cold all the time in prison when it comes to the drug trade. And so a lot of people don't think about it that way, but it's really real. It does exist in there. And what's really ironic is that more violence and bloodshed is caused around prison pharmaceutical drugs than drugs that are being, contraband, like smuggled in prison. There's more bloodshed and violence and feuds over morphine pills and painkillers and things of that nature, right, currently in prisons than anything else. And that's to be expected, given the fact that if you know just about this much about pharmaculture, that morphine is something that has caused wars for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. So I don't think man will ever be able to fuel his appetite on illicit things like morphine and things like that. And I don't think man will ever be tired of the chaos that comes with that kind of lifestyle. And so when you're in prison and you're trying to stay, keep your head down and stay alive, and try to do the right thing, a lot of the times the best thing to do is to do what comes natural and try to just be as even keel as possible given the chaotic circumstances that are going on around you. And never get yourself involved in anybody else's business. That's about the best advice. Would you hand me the bong, Ganja Goddess?
I sure will.
Thank you, my lovin's. It's a Ganja Goddess, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
And so, prison cannabis experiences, though, I've had many good ones. Every experience I ever had in prison around cannabis was always a very good one. When I was a young man, I can remember that, I didn't have a lot of good memories about being in prison, but the only real good memories that I did have about while I was there was around, consuming cannabis while I was there. And so, why don't we do that? I mean, why don't we let another group of people come into the rehabilitation field? Why don't we let another group of people get involved in the rehabilitation field when it comes to prisons, criminality, the recidivism rate, and all the things that are currently taking place in our justice system due to the fact that it's a very corrupt one. And I'm not saying it's not that it's not totally evil, because there's some areas that justice is called for. I mean, there should be a balance between yin and yang and law and chaos. And so, but ours is a fucked one. I mean, really, when you can allow billion-dollar corporations to buy their way out of murder and everything else that a lot of these billion-dollar corporations end up getting guilty of, and money makes everything go round as far as a all these lies and circumvented propaganda that our government feeds us in regards to the residual prohibition that still exists around cannabis. And so, you know, I guess at this point, it's almost like when I hear prohibition, it almost makes me irritated more now. I mean, I used to I was really numb to it, and I really got tired of, you know, just to the point where I didn't give a fuck about hearing about it anymore. But now, you know, now that we're here in 2015 and a lot of things have moved forward for us cannabis cultivators, us medical cannabis cultivators, for those that grow medical cannabis or cannabis in period. And what I'm seeing, though, at the professional level is really disgusting. And so, you know, just a whole bunch of things are taking place. And what I would like to see take place is for our country to come around the cannabis plant. I think everybody needs to get around it. I think that we should integrate it into prison systems. I really do. I think that if you brought in cannabis and taught these men and women that are locked up in prison how to cultivate hemp or cannabis, how to get involved in the agricultural revolution that's going to take place, because this literally will be an agricultural revolution in our country. A lot of folks don't realize, I mean, this is 77 years. This plant has been hiding in back rooms and closets and garages and basements and illegal grows and guerrilla grows and growing out in fields for 77 years. It's been hiding. It's been subjected to mass murder by law enforcement. It's been subjected to corruption. It's been subjected to just endless bloodshed, and it's also been subjected to the destruction of many families. And so all of a sudden there's this emergence of this residual prohibition thinking, and a lot of it, you know, a lot of folks, they think, oh, well, you know, it's almost over and all this other stuff, but then they don't listen to people like, you know, that are in charge of things, like you know, like for instance, our United States Senate. Look at Senator Dianne Feinstein, who is completely against cannabis and thinks that as of her current position is that she thinks that the United States government and the federal government need to outlaw it again, and that they need to take control of the state governments again over cannabis. And that has been discussed recently. Just go look up Dianne Feinstein. You can check her out on Google, and you'll see that this broad is, you know, just part of that residual prohibition holding on. Okay. Now, never mind the fact that Dianne Feinstein actually is guilty of multiple crimes. Okay. Never mind the fact that Dianne Feinstein is guilty of many crimes against the people of the United States. First off and foremost is that she is an oath keeper. She took oath of office under the Constitution, which says that she will defend the Constitution in her job, and that no matter her personal opinion, she will always defend the Constitution in order to take the job. So the woman's guilty of violating the civil rights of all the cannabis users across the state that live in legitimate legal states where they legitimately legally voted it into law in their state. Okay. But then on top of that, to question her own authority is kind of ironic, considering all she's been really doing is talking long smack about the cannabis industry, period, and wants to see it end and see once again federal control regain its strength. You know, now that she's wanting part of that, let's go back a little bit and see how she felt about being spied on by the NSA, and then hear her verbally say that, you know, she didn't have a problem with the United States citizens being spied on by the NSA, but she herself and her office should never have been spied on because they're part of the same federal agency. So, you know, Dianne Feinstein, you are definitely a fucking asshat, okay? You're an individual who needs to go to fucking Shady Pines, get a pair of Depends on if you're not already wearing them, and get the fuck out of law. What are you doing in our law? What are you doing in the Senate? And who voted you in? I would really like to see your constituents, if there any of them are still alive or can speak English. You know, I would really like to see your constituents, Dianne Feinstein, for all the rhetoric and ball wash that you do in our house of law in the United States. And I watch your shit, you know. Yeah, that's right. There's video footage of me watching lawmakers ball wash, you know, but I only do that because I'm trying to get some kind of rational reason to what I need to do to protect my garden and to protect my rights as a free and legally a law-abiding citizen, so that I don't necessarily have to be subjected to their bullfuckery and their ball wash. And you know, at least I can see it coming on. You know what I mean? At least I can see it like a fucking deer in the headlights. At least I'll be able to, you know, see it hit me first. You know, that's the way I am. I'm the kind of person that, you know, if it's gonna fucking happen to me, man, I want to fucking, you know, I want to see it happen. I want to see it hit me, you know, versus not see it. That part bugs me when I know that something's behind me, or, you know, and that's what Dianne Feinstein is. She's a fucking snake in the grass. She's a convalescent who has no ability whatsoever to make rational judgment, let alone rational decision making when it comes to United States law. And the woman doesn't even know the first 3 words of the Constitution. And so why is she even allowed to be in our law? So yeah, Dianne Feinstein, fuck off, man. Nobody cares about your 1980s Nancy Reagan ball wash about how cannabis is horrible. Nobody gives a shit about that anymore. This is 2015, man. People are educated. They have this now. They have the ability to talk to each other and share this information across the seaboard. You know, when I got people from China that face executions for using cannabis watching me, yeah, it's over, Dianne Feinstein. Now the world knows you are a fucking asshat who's guilty of contradicting herself. I mean, literally guilty of it. I mean, come on, man. It's okay to spy on the citizens of the United States, but just not Dianne Feinstein's office. And, oh, we need to get control of this cannabis thing. That's her last statement in the houses of law. So, fuck her, man. Yeah, go home, Dianne, wherever the fuck that is. Oh, now that brings me to another story. Let's have a fucking toke first off the old session, off the old standby. Yeah, that's some good stuff, man. This brings me to another subject. Dianne, we're done with you. We know you're an asshat. I want to talk about 90 pounds of cocaine. And I want to talk about Senator Mitch McConnell and his anti-cannabis rhetoric. And I want to tell you how they all connect. Okay? It's kind of like the prison doobie, you know, when we were all 4 of us guys were hiding in our cell, smoking on this fucking little tiny butt joint that came out of some dude's ass. while the guards were watching, watching for the guards, We're sitting there roasting on the doobie, and we figure we only got about 1.5 hits each between 4 of us guys on this joint. And I haven't had a hit off a joint in 6 years. So I'm like, fucking hell yeah. So, right? It's kind of like that, right, Mitch McConnell? Watching for the man, are you, Mitch? Oh, Mitchy. Oh, Mitchy Poo. You fucking hillbilly from fucking wherever the fuck you are. Let's see, what is that? Tennessee? Tennessee, that's it. Now, I got friends in Tennessee, and they're pretty decent fucking people. And, they're not anywhere near as important as you are, Mitch McConnell. However, I got one for you. The next time you have your fucking relatives bring in your fucking cocaine, be sure to not port your fucking boat, okay? Don't point your boat, okay, in their fucking harbors again. Now, we all know that your family, the Chows, they got fucking busted with fucking 90 pounds of cocaine on their fucking ship, which you, sir, are directly connected to, because that's your wife's family. And let's not mention, okay, hold up, that you own the boat, okay? There's proof to that you own the boat, that you have connections to the boat that got busted with the 90 pounds of coke. Now, hold up, dude. All right. Now, remember, Mitch, a lot of folks are really young that are now connected to the internet and all that stuff, and so they might forget or might not know a little bit about the new history. Because, see, today in 2015, we live in a modern world where history is just constantly fucking rewritten. But there's a little part of history that won't be forgot about you, Mitch McConnell. Senator Mitch McConnell, head ball washer of the United States Ball Washing Senate. Okay. Is that you, sir, got a shit ton of fucking money, okay, from the same people, from your same relatives, which made you one of the richest fucking senators in the House. Okay. You, sir, are a fucking coke smuggler. Okay. How come you aren't in federal fucking prison with all the other people that you threw away in prison in the 90s during your anti-marijuana campaign? Let's not forget that you headed up a huge task force that fucking wanted to increase the penalties of possession of cannabis. You wanted to increase the sentences of those caught in possession of cannabis and those producing cannabis. And you successfully headed up the campaign to increase the penalties. Okay, now a lot of kids don't pay attention to politics and ball washing and blah 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 blah, and I don't really either, because I can sort through the ball washing and get to the point. And the point is, though, Mitch McConnell, is that you have been fucking anti-cannabis since you've been in office. You have raised the bar in ways to prosecute, persecute, and otherwise terrorize any American citizen who is in possession or in manufacturing of cannabis. You are guilty of that. Okay, you're guilty of destroying millions of lives in America. I can't imagine how many Americans were affected by his increased law on penalties in the early 90s.
Lots of people were.
I couldn't imagine how many men and women and how many children and how many families' lives were completely fucking destroyed, Mitch McConnell, because of your laws against cannabis. Mitch McConnell, it's time you fucking stand up and speak to the nation and fucking tell the nation that we need to end cannabis prohibition all the way across the board. We need to sell it like fucking tomato plants. We need to plant it and cultivate it and grow hemp and cannabis all the way across our country. And it's time for you to tell the American people that you're sorry for being a fucking criminal, and maybe we'll forgive you for being a criminal, if you would just fucking let the cannabis plant go. And we know you're head of the fucking all of that bullshit, man. So, you know, rescind your law, Mitch McConnell. And not only that, man, you know, I want to see Mitch McConnell be the leader in fucking freeing this plant all the way across in the House of Law. Because right now, as it is, he currently kind of leads that group, okay? And I might forgive you your little cocaine mishabit. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mitch. I did coke. I did coke too, man. I did coke in the 80s, and I totally get that, man. All right? It's a fucked up mess. So get out of the coke, get into the weed, and start cultivating it. Get it fucking legal, Mitch McConnell, and we might forgive you of your little misdeeds that happened down there on the coast. But you need to tell the fucking American public the truth, dude. I mean, that's the best principle. I mean, considering some of them were your constituents. There were people that voted you into office. I wonder if they know. So, you know, I'm sure they do now that I've made it fucking viral on pretty much all of my sites. So, and I've shared it with thousands and thousands of people. So the fact is there. All right. You know, and it's an easy forgivable one, Mitch, if you would just fucking face up to your deeds, man, tell the world what's up, and then help people like us fight to free this fucking plant, free it. We want to see it next to tomatoes. All right. There are kids younger than 18 months old that need cannabis in order to stay alive. We're talking childhood leukemia, bone cancers and things. And we're talking about they need this medicine so bad because there's no traditional pharmacological medicine that works. Your radiation doesn't work. Your morphine-based painkillers don't work. Nothing works. But when we put cannabis oil in these little kids, they want to eat, they want to sleep, they want to play, they want to read, they want to ride, they want to go somewhere, they want to do stuff, and then they begin to build a healthy immune system to fight against what radiation has done to their bodies after you guys get done with them. And you know what, man? Mitch, you and I fucking already know, bro. These are facts. These are facts, man. We have medical facts that this plant, that this stuff here in this jar right here, these buds right here, can in fact be processed into an oil that can save people's lives. It's been done. It's been done over and over and over and over again. It's been done so many times that even though we've done it until we're blue in our fucking faces about trying to tell people that we have the cure for cancer, we still have to do it. We still have to continue our message, continue telling people, you know, even though we sound like we're a fucking broken record, until people are tired, so fucking tired of hearing about it, that when you do tell it to them, it passes right fucking through them. Because then, just like when you go to the store, do you pay attention to what tomatoes are redder than the others? Do you look for the best broccoli? Do you look for the best lettuce? Right? You know what I'm saying? That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be a part of your normal daily habit. You're just going to, you know what I mean? It's just going to be a program thing now. Cannabis needs to be integrated into our lives as much as toilet paper is integrated in our lives. If you use toilet paper and you wipe your ass, then you should be using cannabinoids. You should be putting cannabinoids in your body. That's how I see it. It needs to become that part of a normal regimen. Okay, whether you smoke them, whether you eat them, whether you take them in a pill formula, whether you drink them in a juicy smoothie, I don't care how you transport cannabis. All right? You need to be doing it. And you need to be doing it on a regimen, on a daily regimen, just like brushing your teeth, just like putting on your pair of socks, it needs to be a normal habit. And we need to have such a readily accessible ability to get to it that all citizens across the nation shouldn't have to struggle, shouldn't have to pay $1 billion to get involved in it. They should be able to affordably get involved so that they can maintain that lifestyle in their lives no matter how you live. I don't care if you are a Fortune 500 stockbroker. Good for you. You still need cannabinoids. I don't care if you are a principal at a public school. You need cannabinoids. I don't care if you are a police officer cruising the beat. You need cannabinoids. We need to feed our endocannabinoid system. Every human being on the planet has one. That's why it comes in our mother's breast milk. You cannot fucking refute fact. Fact is fact, and fact is fact. These mothers who were tested, their breast milk was tested, and they were tested. Their child was tested at the same time. These were all lactating mothers that were breastfeeding new infant children. And they found out that the levels of serotonin increased in the child by the contact, that there were cannabinoids being fed to the child through the breast milk, provided naturally by a mother who did not ever use any cannabinoids. Okay? A mom that, in fact, is one of those prohibition moms who thinks that we should all hang for using cannabis. When they found out that, when she found out that her breast milk was producing bong hits for her child worth of breast milk, okay, totally fucking changed her mind. It blew her away, I'm sure. I mean, but can you imagine? That's where it began for humans. We were born, wanting our mother's milk, and not only wanting our mother's milk, it's a natural part of life, man. I got puppies when they were born. What do they want? They wanted their mother's milk. Every newborn creature on the planet, it's mammal that I know of, wants its mother's milk. It wants its mother's nurturement. That's our first nutrients, the very first nutrients that we naturally receive from our mother when we're outside of her body it's feeding our endocannabinoids. Okay, that's where it begins. So if every human being on the face of the earth is born with this receptor, okay, in their body called the endocannabinoids receptor, if it's in there and we're born with it, and we're born wanting our mother's milk to nurture our body for the first time, isn't it obvious that this is all part of our genetic makeup? This is all, these are all parts of our genetic build of who we are. And could it be that cannabis is something that we discovered pre-Ice Age and carried with us, considering all the years? I mean, you figure what, 60,000 years of history that we've archaeologically found that links humans to cannabis, okay? 60,000 years. Now, maybe, what if there's more history there that's just kind of been erased through time? Because you think about all the time that we don't, there's a lot of shit we fucking humans just don't fucking know, that we don't have the answers to. That's why we have churches, so that you can go and pretend like you know something, because at least you have faith, right? Well, I think that humans, I think they brought this over. I think this is something we carried with us this last Ice Age. And I think that, we now in modern time just don't have that history recollection. I mean, we can go back thousands of years archaeologically and say, yeah, we've had hemp in our lives. We've used it for thousands of years. We can go back and prove that, cannabinoids, we've found cannabis in offering jars, in the Egyptian tombs. We found, stuff in Mongolia that was cannabis in offering jars in Mongolia, so, but yet for us in the living, amongst the living today, the only way we can get that information is if we have a desire in our hearts to know it, okay, or there's a need, that we have to have. We've got to have to understand it. And I believe that we've had this relationship with this plant longer than most plants that we have modern today. Because if you think about it, in horticulture, we have plants that are considered prehistoric, that still exist today, that we call prehistoric species, or species of the prehistoric line of plant. And so, or tree or shrub, there's a lot of different organic matter that grows across the earth that's classified in that manner. When you're talking about horticulture, you're talking about subspecies. Like, for instance, when scientists are talking about the dank you're smoking in your bowl, it depends on what it is. Is it cannabis sativa or is it cannabis indica? And then there's all these other things that horticulturists like to add into their terminology. But one of the main classifiers, it's like the main two classifiers that helps them identify a species of plant, is typically, is it of the prehistoric lines, or is it of the Paleolithic line, which kind of exists in our time? Things that kind of adapted, things that we've changed, things that we've altered, things that we've mutated and cut and clipped and cloned and pruned and grafted. I mean, fuck, we humans have at least a couple thousand years of grafting experience, where we would graft. We would graft, like, for instance, when we started doing orange trees and stuff and producing a lot of citrus fruits in the United States, a lot of the folks that ran orchards were botanists, but also arborists, people that study trees, people that understand how trees work. And arborists, they have the ability to operate on trees and fix them when they're diseased, and they have the ability to treat different ailments on trees. They're like tree surgeons, they're arborists. And so in arborists, they graft, they'll do graftings. They'll take like an orange tree from a specific species of orange, and then they'll graft it on another orange tree because it happens to be a little more hardier and it can handle a little more cold. Well, I believe that we did that with our cannabis. I think that we carried it across with some of these other vegetables and things of nature that they can link to our predecessors, our prehistoric ancestors. I believe that cannabis is a lot older, and I believe that it's something that we carried with us across the ice bridge. I think that we ate its seeds, because the seed production of a hemp plant, can feed an entire nation of people and feed them well. Let's not forget the omega-3s and the fatty acids and the proteins without the high carbo intake is amazing. You're talking about a wonderful treat for humans to consume. It's a grain. We can easily grind it down and to make bread. It's plethora of things you can do with the seed of that chaff. And I think that the cannabinoids, the main ones, the harder strains that we've got today, we, us cannabis cultivators, us growers of cannabis, have locked into. I don't think there's any other way to say it. I think that, over years, it's like, I've talked to my uncle who is almost 70 years old, my great uncle, and I've asked him, do you think there's a difference between the cannabis plants from the days when you were younger and the plants that you see today. And he says, well, hell yeah, they're two different plants. They're not even the same plant. He goes, I mean, to some degree, they're the same plant, but they're not. He goes, they're not the same plant because the plants you guys are growing these days are a lot more hardier and produce a lot differently and do different. It's almost like you guys are, changing it or something, because they're not the same plants that he grew 40 years ago. So I think that we just carried this through and carried it on, and all we've done is just finesse the strains and make them better. And I think that they all homogeneously, no matter how you look at it, and I try to educate everybody I talk to about this, but no matter how you look at it, the cannabis species that we currently have is multitudes. We have multitudes, but they all still genetically go back to two strains, the sativas and the indicas. And no matter how you hybrid the two or cross counter them or whatever else, I mean, that's all where you decide if it's going to make it better or worse. You know what I'm saying? When you're breeding, when I'm breeding, I personally have my preferences when I'm breeding with my cannabis, so that I can have a stronger, better genetic line in my next harvest, my next grow. And so as things go, I'm able to produce a hardier, stronger, more vibrant producing plant through genetic filtering naturally, by picking the stronger female and, picking the stronger male and getting rid of the rest and keeping those two in line and making them work. And then, picking the best mothers, picking the stronger mothers, the better looking, the more healthier, the better tested mothers, using the better tested mothers in my garden, and for a guy that's an organic gardener inside and an organic gardener outside, it's a challenge. There's a lot of challenges that come interlocked between those two, but for the world, that's what you got to get in your head. If you're going to use cannabis, you just need to decide, is it an all indica or all sativa, or is it a hybrid? And if so, what is it going to be? What's its level of hybrid? Is it going to be predominantly a sativa with just a minor end of indica, pushing behind it? And you'll know those differences just by your testing and by what you're doing if you're developing. But for education sense, it's always important to protect what you know and share it with those who grow, if that makes sense. So always remember that. Protect what you know and share it with those that grow. Most folks out there are just beginning to learn about how cannabis grows, how it works, how to develop it, how to personally use it, how to gain independence. And that's what our garden club is about at Oregon Sweet Leaf Revival. And so what we do is we do encourage people to get involved in a community that's willing to educate you. Get involved in a community that's not only willing to educate you, but is willing to support you in that education. Not just in a sense that you're just going to some sterile fucking classroom with a bunch of nobodies that you've never met, but get involved in a group that's going to, truly support your cannabis endeavor, and not only that, but support your cannabis education at the same time, so that you don't feel so distant and so uncomfortable about learning and about learning how you can begin to have a relationship with this plant, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have their relationship extends to, from the dispensary, from their pocket to the dispensary, to the dispensary, to their pocket, to their bong, right? That's their relationship that they typically have.
They usually throw the seeds away.
Yeah. And, that's to my advantage, I guess, because, I do sell cannabis seeds of many different strains. I sell hybrids, I sell purebreds, and have for many years. But one of the things we encourage folks is to, get in their own relationship with it. Once you have that inner relationship, you don't need to go to the dispensaries no more. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry, guys. But dispensaries are so fucking last year. All right. Dispensaries are going to be for people that just refuse to do anything about their independence. They're just going to be people that are going to pay for it anyways. I'm sorry, folks, but there's a lot of people in the United States that will help other individuals collectively grow their own medicine, their own cannabis. But then there's a lot of people that don't. And so that's why we have Club Sweetleaf. Club Sweetleaf is our international garden club. And it's, there's a lot of information there. So if you go to www.OregonSweetleafRevival.com, that's our website. We always are posting updates on events that we're going to be having and classes and things of that nature. But also, we'll be working on a tour here this year where we'll be doing tours across the state and across the country. And based on our sponsorship, which we're starting to develop that, this sponsorship will help other individuals across the United States and other parts of the world, because we've offered our assistance to Spain. We've offered our assistance to a lot of other countries that do have their shit together. Here's a country that does have their shit together, folks. Spain. They have their shit together. Spain knows what's going on. Spain knows how to do things. They're cutting edge. Their technologies are just way beyond ours. And no wonder they're never really mentioned, because they're doing so well. Why burst their bubble? Really? I mean, just go do a little bit of research on cannabis and Spain, and you'll find out that Spain's rocking and rolling. But that's not all, man. The world cannabis community has, these people are survivors of the drug war. Most of them are in their 40s, like myself. Most of them are even older, okay? And, the international cannabis community, that's where Club Sweetleaf is at, is helping the international cannabis community change the views and the mindsets of prohibitionistic thinkers, and do that in a way that it can be productive, and not only can be productive, but can be efficient. Because what it's going to do, what I'm seeing happen all across the world, there's lots of it's on fire. We already know this. There's wars and rumors of wars. We already know that exists. But, when you hit time, but when you think about what's taking place in the cannabis world, the world that I get involved in, the Ganja Goddess is involved in, we do represent the state of Oregon when it comes to medical cannabis communities. But we like to get involved in the world channels. We like to get involved with other folks that see that it's time that our world comes together and joins hands around this plant, so that we can start detoxifying and depolluting all the pollution that's already taken place. We already know that by growing hemp, we will greatly, drastically reduce greenhouse gases. We know not only that we will be able to reduce greenhouse gas, but we also know that by growing hemp, we'll be able to detoxify the ground of radium and cesium and all the fucking shit that's been dumped into our earth the last 77 years of prohibition. We know that by growing hemp and cannabis, we can save an entire world of trees. We can start planting back the fucking Amazon. We can start putting trees back in the Amazon. We can start fucking replanting trees across the fucking globe, because we don't need to cut them down anymore. We don't need it. Why? Because we can produce hempcrete, which lasts 100 times longer than wood, is 100 times stronger than wood, is 100 times lighter than wood, and can be shaped into any form you want. Hempcrete, folks. Hempcrete. Do the math, man. Hempcrete will save a whole shit ton. Because what the fuck, man? I can produce millions of acres of hemp, and that will save millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of acres of forest. Okay? So, we can take all the money we're saving as we're cleaning our planet up, as this shit is grown in Chernobyl now. Yeah, that's right, folks. A lot of people, people that are under a certain age don't remember Chernobyl, but you guys in the new future world, man, you can go fucking get on your computers and just do some fucking Googling, and you will, whatever the fuck it is you use, and just look up Chernobyl, okay? But look up Chernobyl and cannabis, or Chernobyl and hemp. Now, what they did over there in Chernobyl is they took out a big plot of the most radiated, fucking contaminated soil from this nuclear damage that's been done to Chernobyl. I mean, it's a dead city. And, Vice, love you guys. You fucking guys rock. You guys did a kick-ass fucking documentary on Chernobyl. And if you guys want to check it out, you should go check it out. Vice has got a documentary on just Chernobyl. Take you on, like, real-time look at it, like, I think they did it in 2013. Don't quote me if I can't quote. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that one. But Vice News, they've got some cool media on YouTube. You can go check out Chernobyl. I'm sure they'll be there. But they planted hemp there, and that fucking cleaned. They came back the next year, and they did tests, radiation tests and shit over this hemp field. And they determined that the ground, the soil test that they did in this hot spot is that by growing the hemp, it cleaned the radio-contaminated soil up a little bit faster than they ever expected. That's right, folks. Hemp is a detoxifier to the dirt. It's a detoxifier to the earth. I don't care how fucking dirty your oily, radiated, tainted ground is. If you grow hemp on it for a certain amount of years, it will fucking clean the soil up right underneath the ground that you planted it on. And there's proof. There's evidence right there in Chernobyl, Russia. All right? It's cleaning up Chernobyl. So, just a little math, man. Hemp is an earth cleaner. If it detoxifies the dirt and detoxifies it of cesium and radium, see what I'm saying, man? Hemp produces some of the finest fibers in the world. I'm talking silk-like fabric, okay? And, we're talking plastic. We're talking gasoline. That's right. Replacing petrofuel altogether. Oh, shit. I don't want to say that too fucking loud, because let's go look up the word petrodollar, because, big oil companies have never wanted hemp to be a player in the gas industry. Big pharma never wanted cannabis to get involved in the cure for cancer. Big Timber really didn't want fucking hemp to be a player, because they fucking knew. Everybody knew, man, 77 years ago, when these jackasses were sitting around the table, I know they fucking knew these things, because this is all information that we have known for a very long time. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go do a little research. And if anybody has never heard of the man, I'm going to go ahead and repeat his name, because I have a lot of love and a lot of respect for the man. He came to my state, Oregon. Okay. This man came from the East Coast originally. His name is Jack Hare. Jack Hare, he revolutionized education, but he had to do it forcefully. A lot of the times people thought he was crazy. A lot of people thought he was insane. Some people had good things to talk to him about. Some people didn't. But neither here or there. Jack Hare contributed to the world. Jack Hare contributed to the world by giving this out right here. If you can read that. This book is called The Emperor. You see that? The Emperor Wears No Clothes. See? By Jack Hare. Now, this is the newest edition. This was one that was just recently done. They've got a couple of other editions of the same book. They've just added some more excerpts, which is pretty cool because they put a memorial in there about him. And I really love the man. But if you look on the cover of this book, I'm going to show you something. You'll notice here, okay, that you have canvas over the tops of these wagons. A lot of people go, but that's insignificant. No, it's not. Because some of the strongest fucking canvas in the world was made right here out of this material. Okay. Hold up. No, wait a minute. What's this? RX and medicine. See, medicine right there. So now we have medicine. There's another one that it can produce. Wait a minute. What's this one right over here? Oh, we have clothing. We have a shirt. We have shoes. We have a dress. What? It can make clothing too. What's that mean, folks? No more sweatshops. No more, children being exploited for labor. No more slavery in other third world countries. An open market for the entire world to join. That's what that means. Hello. And then this. What's this one right here? What's this one right here? What's that one? What's that? Oh, that's right. Energy. Gas and energy. That's right. We can produce gas and energy with hemp and cannabis. Oh, wow. That's pretty fucking impressive. Let's go right here. What's this one right here? Let's see. Oh, this camera sucks a little bit, but what's this one right here? Oh, that's right. That's paper. But not only paper, but our Constitution was good enough to be written on hemp paper, which our Constitution is still very much intact, other than it's never, the politicians don't obey it anymore. But I mean, the oath keepers that say they're oath keepers don't obey it anymore. They're too busy fucking, burning out Syrian women and children. But anyways, what's this one? What's that? Oh, look. Food. That's right. Food. That's right. We can eat this shit too. It's really fucking good for us. What else? Endless amounts of shit on here. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on about what we can do with hemp. Ironically enough, I personally think this book needs to be in every public school, every elementary, every university in the world. I think that every human being on the planet needs to have one of these books right here in their library. The Emperor, right there. The Emperor Wears No Clothes, A History of Cannabis, Hemp, and Marijuana. Jack Hare, we love you. We miss you. I know you're on to greater and bigger things. You are up there right now floating around with Timothy Leary and Jerry Garcia and Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin and so many others. Having a fucking party in the sky. You guys know that's what they're doing right now, right? You guys are fully aware of what's going on up there, right?
They're partying like rock stars.
Oh, fuck yeah, they are.
Partying like a rock
So, yeah, man, that's what we need to do. We need to get it available to everybody. We need to make cannabis available 24/7, hot and cold running, available to everybody.
I agree.
That wants to make that choice. Now, I think that I imagine that probably, well, the Japanese say take it, or no, the Chinese say it takes 7 generations to forget, tragedy.
Yeah.
That's a Chinese proverb that somebody had shared with me. It takes 7 years to forget tragedy. Well, I'm still seeing tragedy around cannabis. I'm still seeing people get arrested for it. I still see state lawmakers that want to ban it and want to take over state rights over it. I see bigwig politicians getting away with corruption, like the importation of 90 pounds of coke, and then literally legitimately getting away with the crime of getting caught. I see all kinds of crazy shit around the world of cannabis right now. I see this all of a sudden division between the recreational and the medical. I heard it today. I heard some fucking rhetoric today, and to tell you the truth, it kind of angers me when I hear it, because I don't care who you are. If you're smoking this plant, using it, sticking it up your ass in a suppository form, I don't care who you are. If you use this plant, don't fucking hardline against other members in your community because they don't use it the same way you do. Because I'm getting tired of that fucking shit. All right, I'm getting tired of you're not in the dab circle, or fucking this bullshit hash church, or whatever the fuck it is, man. Cannabis isn't meant to be that way. I don't care how you look at it. Cannabis was never meant to be treated that way. And it's unjust for some jackass to say, because that guy's only a smoker, or he's a sick person, he's a patient, so he takes it in oil form, he's not good enough to join our circle. I've actually seen that happen. And of course that angers me, because you are the division creators. You are the individuals that are guilty of creating division amongst peaceful, loving people by saying, because that guy likes flower only, he doesn't belong in our circle. Well, that's cool. You have the right to be that way, I guess, but be that way privately. Don't come into the world cannabis community with your ball-washed rhetoric about how sick people are so last year when it comes to cannabis. This is all about business and bucks now.
How unfortunate, huh?
Don't come into the cannabis community and fucking ask us who Jack Kerr is. Okay? Instead of saying, who is Jack Kerr, why don't you be the smarter of the two and be hip and connected and go Google his name, and then you'll find out who he is. Mm-hmm. Or have a friend like me just inform you of a wonderful book and a wonderful discovery. You know what I'm saying? But don't take my word for it. Go look the man up yourself, okay? Jack Kerr, all right?
Well, spelled like hair.
And it rhymes like tear. It's Jack Kerr, okay? And his last name is Herer. That easy. But see, you are fortunate. And the reason you're fortunate is because you and I are sitting here blazing bowls, shooting the shit. And and Gonzagadas is over there eating chocolate. And Garden Security's, doing their job. And, you know, we're talking about a wonderful man whom I love and respect, who's no longer with us. And I shared with you his book. And most people will be unfortunate and not know who he was, but at least you know who he is, right?
You should. We talk about him all the time.
Mm-hmm. So we do have our website up. It is www.OregonSweetleafRevival.com. Yay, garden clubbers. I congratulate all of my garden club members, all of those people out there across the state, and of course our international club Sweetleaf members. I want to go ahead and throw a great big shout out to them because
Yay.
Yes, yay. You folks, especially our international club Sweetleaf members, we are so thankful to be a part of your communities, to be a part of your living rooms and your lives. And we thank you for letting us be a part of that.
Yeah.
You know, I personally thank you, and you know, I'm sure.
Oh, of course, I thank you too.
Ganja Goddess, she thanks you too, even though she's off screen right now. And of course, Garden Security, they thank you. But you know, Oregon Sweetleaf Revival Cannabis Garden Club started originally with just 4 people. The first original founding father was of course our wonderful, lovely Larry Rathbun, our four-time loser, but our 2-time Vietnam vet and author of, you know, Emily, of course, you know, Ganja Goddess was there. I myself was there. And, you know, last and not least, Coyote was there. What?
No.
What'd you say?
I forgot.
And it went from that little table meeting with just a little handful of us sitting there holding hands, smoking bowls, talking about the future of what we're going to do to protect what we've worked our lives for, you know, what we've put so much time into. And it was in that fateful meeting, you know, when we formed the Oregon Medical Marijuana Patient Advocate Council. We decided that our whole task was to stop the exploitation of medical cannabis patients in the state of Oregon. That was originally our whole mission. And basically we started just in our community, and pretty soon we started fielding work out of our community, you know, in other communities in the state. And then pretty soon we were statewide. And then when we realized one day, just by taking our polls, you know, looking at our polls, we noticed that we were growing rapidly fast. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that our garden club was about education, was about cannabis education. It was the first real group of growers and grower collectives that felt compelled to share their knowledge with new and emerging cannabis cultivators. And so you're talking about a pretty rare thing, and all of a sudden that grew, and then pretty soon we had an entire statewide membership. And I did not personally want our garden club to get so huge that everybody that joined would have this feeling that you know, that master gardeners or the state gardener would be out of reach. And so after much deliberation and discussion with Ganja Goddess, that's when we decided to formulate Club Sweetleaf. And with Club Sweetleaf, we're able to work more on our international relationship with the cannabis community and still be able to keep everybody in our garden club a forefront of what currently is fucking going on when there's all this other ball wash and rhetoric on TV. Most people that's in the cannabis community doesn't give a shit about, you know, real bullshit news because it's the same shit over and over and over again, you know? And so they would rather do something else with their time. But there are parts of the news that we should be paying attention to, you know, like when Mitch McConnell's family boat gets busted down in Colombia with fucking 90 pounds of fucking coke, and dude is still the House leader of the United States Senate, Senator Mitch McConnell, you know, when he gets busted, but no, he doesn't get busted. What busting? The fucking dude's still getting huge dollars and is still the leader of the House. So, let's see. I mean, we can just go on and on and on, man. You know, there's a lot of Native American people that feel very insulted with this, you know, with the federal government's decision to let cannabis grow on reservations. You know, it's like, fuck, it was our right originally. Why do we need to fucking ask you now? Oh, that's right. You guys decided to give us a little bone, huh? So anyways, yeah, man, a lot of shit's changing. And I think that the more that Club Sweet Leaf grows internationally, you know, our international group is about education and how the United States cannabis cultivators can help aid and assist and get involved in the platform, the growers platform across the world. There's great, phenomenal growers and cultivators of cannabis in Spain that we network with. And, you know, we want to network more with those folks and not only network with them, but we want to be able to eventually, see, Club Sweet Leaf, and its education center, its wellness center there. We want to see Club Sweet Leaf wellness centers all across the United States and all across the world. Now, these are nonprofit agencies. They don't take money in. They don't take, no money out. These are agencies that are merely there for educational purposes, to teach and to help expand the mind on how to eventually incorporate cannabis into their lifestyle without it becoming a prohibitionistic pre-thought. Because that's what we need to do. We need to start deprogramming all of these people, all this lies, all the propaganda and the evil around cannabis that they've tried to create. Mr. Lesslinger, Harry and Lesslinger, and all your little fuckertons that came along over the 78-year prohibition of cannabis in the United States. So it takes you, the viewer, you, the individual, and how you can do that. There's a couple different ways how you can roll your sleeves up and really get involved without really having to do too much, without really having to take too much time out of your day. And that is really simple how you can do that. And, when you look at collectively what the Garden Club has been able to achieve and do over the years, since 2010 and its original founding, there's a lot more that it could be doing. And we are the only agency in the United States right currently that isn't about trying to brand, logo, trademark, one size fits it, okay? We're trying to protect a genetic library that we want to make available to you, the viewer, you, the individual. And so we formulated a website, and on our website, it's time for a hit now. Let's have our hits so we can talk about our website. We formulated a website that we're putting up handmade artisan items that are made from the cannabis patient community. Okay. across the world. And we offer our farmers style market to anybody that wants to involve themselves on our, we will offer them a spot. But what we're doing is we're trying to raise the awareness of cannabis education. There's too many people that don't have it. You put a cannabis plant in front of them and it's like they have no concept of what they're doing, and their thinking is so far astray from what they should know that there's got to be somebody there that's going to help them understand how to seed to finish this, and then not only that, help break the stereotypical norm of what's going on out in our world. There's so many people out there that they're still thinking illegitimate, and we need to bring that legitimacy to it. And I don't think that it's going to be in the traditional sense that they're already trying to do it in. So many people are trying to bring it in with the suit and tie, and I'm sorry, man, 2015 suit and ties are out, dude. We don't trust you. If you have a suit and tie on, man, and you try to come and sell something to me, you are out, dude. You're out. I'm not going to believe you, okay? Because usually that's a uniform that's associated with greed, corruption, and political corruption. And there's no room for corruption in cannabis and cannabis education and cannabis independence. And so on our website at www.OregonSweetleafRevival.com, we will be posting handmade, artisan-made items made from the medical cannabis community, from growers, cultivators, patients alike. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 100% of those proceeds on our website, and we're going to take 100% of that and donate right back out into the cannabis community to help cannabis hospice work. Now, what I talk about cannabis hospice work is that ground level, that's really where, cannabis really needs to start breaking those barriers. It's not going to start in a dispensary with some recreational user or some medical user. It's got to start where people need it the most. We need to take the cannabis to where people need it the most. And now our challenge as a cannabis garden club is that in order to take this cannabis to the people, it's not that challenge, but we do a lot of that out of our own pocket. We pull it right out of our pocket. And so, we don't complain about that. Life always rewards us. That's just the way it is. We're really blessed and grateful for what we have. And so whenever we're given an opportunity to have more, we're able to give more. And that's what we do. We, throughout the entire state of Oregon, when we started our garden club, it was about helping sick folks that couldn't help themselves. And it just expounded to going into hospice fields of work, where we work in a hospice level, where we try to bring in oils and medibles and things of that nature to try to introduce a new form of medication, a new form of supplement to sick people that need these medications in their bodies so they can start detoxifying from the poisons that traditional medicine put in their body in the first place. So what we're trying to do is, not so much as we have a problem producing the medicine, or because we don't, we're breeders and growers ourselves. We produce this medicine and make it free and available to our patient core. And we try to teach other people to do the same. But what we're trying to do is raise funds so that we can travel more and get more integrated into our international group, so that we can start seeding these educational groups across the globe and start showing other people across the globe how cannabis independence can work. And so, everything that our patient group and our club puts up there, it's put up there by club members. And we do allow all of our Cannabis Garden Club members to place, you know, an item up for donation, so that folks that do end up making the donation for that item, we will make sure that that item is packaged, you know, securely and shipped to you free of charge. And, you know, at that time, you know, what you're doing is making a donation, but in the same sense, we're making a donation back to you. You know, and at 100% of that going back into the work we do in our field is you know, because I don't do this for a living. I don't grow medical cannabis for a living. You know, I do grow medical cannabis, but I don't do it for a living. I don't want to ever do it for a living. But I want to grow medical cannabis so that I can help others that can't help themselves. And, you know, I'm talking really sick people. I'm talking people with stage 3, stage 4 cancers that are, you know, that are dying in hospice, that have no other alternative. Everybody's thrown their hands up in the air at them, and the world has given up. This is their last stage. And, you know, up to this date, I've been doing hospice cannabis work up to this date since 2010. And I will say that I have had no failure in restoring dignity to those that are without it. I've had no fails. And I think a lot of it has to do with being connected with Oregon Sweet Leaf Revival. You know, Ganja Goddess has got a wonderful thing over there, and she's been able to do a lot with it, and being able to network it. And with her ideas of making it international is even more phenomenal. It makes perfect sense why she would want to do that. And so, you know, me as a medical cannabis cultivator and a medical cannabis teacher and a medical cannabis activist, I'm 100% for what she's talking about. And so if you go to the website and you see the items there available on the website, we will be posting those up there daily. You know, there's a lot of people that want to put their stuff on there that are from the club. We're vetting all of this, folks. And so, you know, we're asking folks to keep in mind that the items that we're putting up there are being vetted, primarily because we want the world to be aware, not only about what we're trying to teach others in the world on how to end this prohibition thinking, but what we're trying to do is give the person that decides to help us a gift that they can always appreciate, and that gift that they can always appreciate is one of real high quality, one of artesian strength. And being able to give something like that is important to us, because then what it does is that it you know, it's our way of sharing with you, you know, what you do for us. And so everything you do counts. And, you know, in our garden club, you know, like I said, I don't do this for a living. I grow medical cannabis for sick people that can't grow it for themselves. That's what I've done and always done and will continue to do. And I work in a hospice field where it's all about radiation and morphine. It's not about cannabis. It's not, you know, trying to teach those people how to use these things. You know, it's a challenge. And so being able to have more tools in my toolbox will help. And so, you know, that's why we're putting these items on our website. And to make it even more visible to those that are actually, you know, donating to our website, 100% of your donations is going to cannabis education and cannabis hospice work. So in other words, I will show you what I'm doing. You will be able to go and see at the ground level what we're doing. Everything I do in my field is on video already. Okay, from my cultivation work to where I'm at right now in front of you. So, you know, there isn't anything about lack of visibility. But in the same sense, I just want you to understand that if you're sitting at your office chair watching this video, or you're looking at something, just remember, man, 100% of what you put into our donations, what you donate to us, is going directly into the work of cannabis education to end prohibition. So, and I live in a state where, they say prohibition is ended. And, I'm involved in an international cannabis cultivators group. So by doing that on the international level, I want to share that knowledge internationally. And so that means, I welcome anybody internationally if they wish to really truly hear the truth about how cannabis works, how it can be cultivated 100% effectively. Then I'm the guy. I can show you how to do that. And so, but, it also is going to be based on, if you're feeling like you're not able to do something, or you don't feel like you can't do enough, man, anything counts. And you can ask Goddess. Anything counts, man. If you're willing to pull a penny off of your account, man, good for you. That's a penny towards cannabis education. That's a penny more that we can use to get another flyer out in Europe. That's another penny more that we can use to take to the patient level, because every dime that we use, every extra cent I've got goes into what I do, into my job, into what I work in. And, Ganja Goddess, there's been many times that she's, that her officers group is, because she's, Ganja Goddess is the one that owns the club. So, in Ganja Goddess, there's been a couple times, that they wanted to, try to, give me a per dime for the work that I do. And I've told them, no, I don't, I do this for what I want. As long as I have more to give, I want more to give. I want to give more. I want to give more to them. I just don't have enough to give. And, I think a lot of it has to do, with not just the limitations, because to some degree there are, because a lot of it is just right out of pocket. We've always been about nonprofit, even though we're currently an LLC, it's still about nonprofit for us. We're still kind of getting used to this LLC idea. I think that's just something our lawyers advised us to do. But, I told them from the start that irregardless of our moves into LLC or not, isn't going to change our motives. Our motives is to get this information out, get it out, get the medicine out, get these people the medicine in their hands, and teach them how to use it, teach them how to grow it, teach them how to cultivate it, teach them how to get involved in it, so that it can once again begin to free our planet from all the mess that has been created the last 77 years. Okay. We've cut the shit out of our forests. We've deforested all of our fucking land all across the world. We've increased the greenhouse gases, man. Why not teach people how to cultivate this shit and get it going again? Okay. That's where we're at. So if you feel like you aren't doing anything, or you're not capable of doing anything, all you need to do is go to www.OregonSweetLeafRevival.com, and there at the very bottom of the page, you can donate 5 cents, a penny, 10 cents. Give us whatever you got, because everything you give us is just going to go right into the pocket of that ability to go right into the patient. How do we help them? Comes right out of our own pocket experience. Okay. And I'm telling you right now, I want to get it to the world. Okay. And so my goal is to get it through the whole world. I need your help. I need your help. I don't care where you're sitting at in your life. I don't, if you're in a really bad situation, join us so that you can help us teach the world how to let it go, man.
Maybe we can help them.
And maybe we can help you, And so if you're wanting to learn about cannabis independence, you want to learn how to grow it, how to cultivate it, how to process it, how to make it your own, then get a hold of us at Club Sweetleaf at AOL.com. And we will accept anybody we have a lot of European folks, a lot of folks from other parts of the countries, other parts of the world.
We love hearing from you. And please, if you could put at the top of your entry so that we know who you are, put Club Sweetleaf into the to direction, and that way we know it's in relations to Club Sweetleaf business. And so, because we get such an influx of email and an influx of questions, and so, and I have a question currently, and that is about BHO. The question is, does BHO, even after purge, have residual petroleum basis to it? I had this discussion with a grower, a good friend of mine, a couple days ago, and I was told, no, very, very minor, just about this much. And I was thinking to myself, okay, but yet there's still petroleum in it. Even though there's just about that much, there's still petroleum base in it. Now, you know, I also hear the other complaint from the CO2 people. In fact, I have a good friend who heads up very large CO2 production in Portland. He has his own dispensary up there, and he processes his own CBD and CO2 oils up there. And he can't stand CO2 oil because it is all the same. All the phenos are out of it. All the CO2, most CO2 processors in that they currently are using in their manufacturing for dispensary processes, most of the CO2 oil tastes like shit. There's no pheno to it. It just tastes like some oily stuff. There's no pheno.
No pheno at all.
No pheno. And that's coming from Jerry.
Ooh.
So, you know, and I mean, you're talking a pretty big processor. So the thing about it is, man, is if CO2 is all the same, no matter what you're fucking burning out through CO2, but when you're talking about butane is still a petroleum. You're still dumping motor oil on an organic substance. I don't care how much you purge it. I don't care how much you fucking vacuum it. I don't care all of that, you know. And you know, I'm not going to get on it about it, but you know, I get that argument all the time, and I tell folks, look, man, if you've got a problem, just keep it to yourself. Hey, people are making their own choices these days. If you yourself, if it's not for you, then try ice water extract. Try alcohol extracts. Okay. A lot of people go, oh, you know what? I've got a buddy of mine that processes an alcohol extract that comes out golden, more golden than some of the BHO that I see get blasted, more golden than some of the fucking CO2 oils that come out blasted. And you know what I like about his oil that he processes with alcohol? I can still taste the pheno. Right?
That's right.
I mean, you can taste the pheno.
Yes.
So your oil has to be that natural golden color. There can't be any plant particulate in it, and there can't be any green chlorophyll in it. If you got green oil, you probably let chlorophyll escape into your oil. If you've got black oil, you probably overheated your process. If you've got golden yellow oil, you probably did it just right.
Just right.
So we do have extraction classes coming up. That's not going to really be available until after Club Sweetleaf opens their Capitol building up in the state. And then, you know, we will be doing some videos this summer on extractions, but I'm going to be working on a book that I'm going to try to make available here pretty soon. And it's going to be Cannabis Cultivation for Dummies. So, I want to make that available for folks so that they can get it on their telephones, get it on their, I want it to be a PDF type reader book. So it's like readily on their hands, and then they can start getting some basic information on what's going on. And I've got over, so many years of collective knowledge already collected. So I'm going to make that available in a book form. It's going to be a complete A to Z step, seed to finish. We're going to talk about everything you can possibly talk about when it comes to cannabis. You name it, I know it. I'm a 4th generation cannabis cultivator. The 5th generation is coming up behind me. And my mother grows better cannabis than me. So, lots of things are coming up. We really appreciate all the support you folks throw at us from the ground up, man. We really appreciate it. From those that just watch, those that just want to sit and blaze and have a good time with us. And for those that are still haters, that's okay. We still love you.
Yeah, who cares?
And as Ganja Goddess always says,
Sharing's always caring.
and as I always say, one free plant, folks. You free the plant and the rest will follow. And if anybody wants to support and show their shout out support, wants to roll their sleeves up and get involved in the cannabis education of the world and help Club Sweet Leaf seed these educational centers all across the world, then please show your support. Go to www.OregonSweetLeafRevival.com and go to the bottom of the website, and there at the bottom to the left you will see a donate. Please donate 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents. If I could just get a penny from you folks, that means that you put a penny. At least you have a penny's interest in educating the world. You have 1 cent's interest in helping the rest of the world free itself from this evil grip of prohibition that we live in currently. And if you think prohibition is over, then you should go to Pullman, Washington, where it's legal recreationally and medically, and it costs you $1,000 an ounce to get it. So, no, sirs, no, ma'ams. Prohibition is far from being over. Not when we got lawmakers, Dianne Feinstein saying that they need to take state rights away from cannabis users. They're already talking about it in the houses of law. And in the same house of law, you got Mitch McConnell's family getting busted with 90 pounds of coke, right, from the same guy who was guilty of raising the bar on cannabis prosecutions. So we won't forget too soon there, Senator Mitch McConnell.
No, we won't.
So anyways, show your support, folks. Go to www.OregonSweetLeafRevival.com. Bottom of the page. Give us your 5 cents. Let us show you what we can do with it. Let us show you. That's how I am, man. There ain't no room for bullshit here. It's straight from the hip, man. Let us show you what we can do with it. One free plant, folks. Free the plant, and the rest will follow. Have a nice night.